Hopefully that was worth it.
Hopefully that was worth it. I love that video way too much. It was really funny.
There's no such thing.
All the slugs.
No, don't look! Don't look! There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay. So let's talk about the movie real quick before we move on. If you haven't heard yet, the movie Rights to Five Nights has been picked up by Warner Brothers and is in production as we speak. Director Gil Keenan, who did Poltergeist, will be directing the movie and is a huge Five Nights at Freddy's fan. Coffin will be directly involved with the movie's plot and development. Like 99% of it will be of his word. The animatronics are not CGI. They are 100% fully functional robots. And they're going to be created by the Jim Henson Creature Shop. So yes, the Muppet guys will be making these fucking things. The movie's plot is going to be a brand new story that fits into the already existing plot. It's not going to be a game rehash at all. So, no, we're not getting the. Well, we might be getting the bite in this. So hang on.
I need answers.
Later. All right, so here's a quick tweet by Gil Keenan. That's what the eyes are right now. So he is super stoked, and I'm sure we are just as stoked as he is. All right, so let's jump right into this bad boy. We'll go over the Five Nights timeline so far. This covers FNAF 1 through 3, and our job during the rest of the panel is going to be filling in where 4 fits. So where it all began. Okay, based on the context clues of all the games, we can ultimately deduce that the other games are meant to go in order of Five Nights 4. Maybe. Five Nights 2, FNAF 1, FNAF 3. That much is certain. 2, 1, 3. Yeah.
There was actually an Easter egg that someone told Markiplier about that Five Nights 4 is actually in 82.
Yes,
83.
so 83. We'll get to that in just 1 second. I have that covered. FNAF 2 gives the most clues to there being a restaurant before the one Jeremy Fitzgerald worked at. So Phone Guy mentions this on night 1 of FNAF 2. Even before the restaurant, there was Fredbear's Family Diner, which is what Phone Guy mentions in night 5 of FNAF 2. A total of 4 restaurants in the series, with only 2 of the locations being playable. So we'll break that down here in just a second, and we'll do it chronologically. So Fredbear's Family Diner. This is the very first location. It's not a playable location as in the style we know of, but as of Five Nights 4, it is what the Atari-style cutscenes happen in. This was family or independently owned, so it was not a franchise of any kind. Freddy is the only animatronic at this point, as in you see Take Cake to the Children minigame. He's the only iconic one that kind of lasts through the series as like a brown golden character. This is a location where Purple Guy takes his very first victim, who bears a very striking resemblance to our puppet in Five Nights 2. Due to this murder, the owners of Fredbear's Diner have to sell the location off to Fazbear Entertainment. So this is where it becomes its very first franchise. So it's the second location, first franchise. This is also not a playable location. The first 2 animatronics are made. We know them as Golden Freddy and Springtrap. I'm sorry, I misspoke. This is where the 4 takes place. Both characters double as animatronics and wearable mascot suits in this one. So we get information from this in the 3rd game. Due to these spring lock suits malfunctioning, so if you didn't understand it in the game, so you have a giant robot. Inside the robot, there's all these mechanical parts. Well, they had little screws on them where you could push all the parts to the sides of the suit. So you could push them against the shell of the suit and spring lock them into place so people could get in it, wear it, walk it around. This is also why these animatronics have 5 fingers. Golden Freddy has 5 fingers, so does Springlock. The other ones only have 4. Due to these Springlock suits malfunctioning, because if they got wet by coughing, sneezing, breathing on these things, they unlocked and they hit, whoops, they would hit whoever was wearing it, so, and cause serious damage, if not death. So, because of these malfunctions, they are scrapped and replaced with fully animatronic characters. So it's the main cast that we know: Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Freddy. The location of the infamous murders of the 5 children are in this location too, as seen by Foxy's Go 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 minigame in Five Nights 3. So the first casualties in the franchise as like employees, in Five Nights 3's training cassettes, which are what you hear before every night, Phone Guy frequently mentions a safe room built into every single Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location. This room is invisible to animatronic programming and off limits to any customers and most employees. Not many people get the chance to get back in this place. You can only assume that people that were in higher standing with the restaurant got to go back there. The employees that died in the malfunctioning suits, so if they breathed on the spring lock suits and they were crushed, there was one that died in Freddy, Fredbear, and one that died in Golden Bonnie. Which is why you see these guys as spooky Easter eggs in Five Nights 2. And they just show up and they don't do anything, but it's supposed to represent the spirits of these that died in the suits. The employees that died in the malfunctioning suits knew where that back room was, which explains why the animatronics have an error when trying to go into the secret room during the Five Nights 3 minigames. Like when you walk up, you try to get in that room and it says ERR, and you keep trying, and then you walk away and Purple Guy dismantles you if that was that room. So, continuation off of the first first franchise. On Night 5 and FNAF 3, Phone Guy mentions how the Golden Bonnie suit has been noticeably moved from its proper place. From this, it can be deduced that Purple Guy used the Springtrap suit to murder the kids. However, that is still up for debate. Nothing in this franchise is set in stone at all. So, eventually this location closes down due to the 5 rotting bodies in the suits. The 4 rotting bodies in the suits, and it causes a health violation. So that's where the newspaper clippings of rotting bodies smelling like reanimated carcasses come from. The bodies are rotting in the suits because this is when the puppet stuffs them inside to give them life. Contrary to popular belief, I don't think Purple Guy stuffed them in the suits. I believe that the puppet did, because in the second game, you see this sometimes. And it's the puppet shoving you in the suits, trying to give you life, which is also emulating Give Gifts, Give Life. That mini game as well. So, again, just speculation, nothing set in stone. So, the second Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is the third location, which is the setting of FNAF 2. This takes place in late 1987 based off of Jeremy's checks. So this much is pretty certain. Brand new animatronics equipped with facial recognition software attached to a Predator database. This is a safety measure taken by the company due to prior experiences. Purple Guy. Old animatronics are stored away and being used for spare parts, but since they're still haunted, that means they still move around. Decorations stating the new face of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza all around the restaurant kind of hint at it closing down and then reopening again. Again, still speculation. 5 more children are murdered in this location, so 10 total victims. And the Save Them minigames map, you can perfectly match the Save Them minigame map to the map of the restaurant, and amongst this game, there are 10 bodies strewn about the restaurant. So there's 10 total kids that are victims of Purple Guy. The puppet is leading you to where the Purple Guy is, and you can only assume that he wants you to help him defeat Purple Guy because he keeps taking people's lives. And when Purple Guy, in a rare instance, comes up to you and once you make contact with him, shuts the screen off, you read a "you can't" at the top left corner of the screen, insinuating that you can't help the puppet stop him from killing all these kids. Once the murders of the 5 new victims are investigated, the place is shut down, only to reopen yet again later in the year, where the decorations come from, and people have kind of picked up on that, and they're like, that's not, like the dated cassette training tapes or the voicemails are weird, along with the designs, nothing matches up. This is also the time when the bite of 1987 occurs. After only being open a few short weeks, the restaurant closes permanently due to what we will later know as the Bite of '87, which is mentioned in the first game. New toy animatronics are scrapped completely due to being unsafe. They're completely set aside. And the old animatronics that they were using for parts, so our main forecast is brought back and meant to be used at the new smaller location of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. So if you see in the newspaper clipping, it says, "It's a minor setback. We are confident that we will reopen someday, even if it is with a smaller budget." That was the CEO of Fazbear, so you can assume that later, this opens up again as the game that we used for the first Five Nights at Freddy's. So the third Fazbear location, it's the fourth location, third of the franchise. So lots of restaurants they're burning through because they can't catch Purple Guy. Same building as the first franchise, so the second location. So they moved backwards. It saved them money to do it that way. It takes place in the early 90s, so between 91, late 1990, early 1991, maybe 1992. The animatronics haunting the suits get to finally kill Purple Guy in this location. Woohoo! They're still restless and out for revenge against anyone still working under Fazbear Entertainment. So they're going after anybody in a security guard outfit, including our poor Mike Schmidt. Establishment presumably closes due to conditions, and the main animatronics are scrapped as the final restaurant closes for good. So at the end of Five Nights 1, the whole franchise is completely wiped off the face of the earth except for just stories. Nobody goes to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza anymore. Fazbear's Fright, which is the setting for Five Nights 3. This is not a restaurant, but we still play it like we do with the other games. 30 years later, a horror attraction opens up to commemorate the terrifying history of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. The animatronic Springtrap is recovered from one of the previous locations in their safe room and used for the attraction. Purple Guy's corpse is still inside and haunts the suit, which explains Springtrap's behavior. I adore that Scott did this. In the first 2 games, the animatronics are haunted by children, so they're very weird about how they move around, especially in Five Nights 2. Freddy is very blatantly out there and like easy to see, and it's easy to catch him, so it kind of foreshadows it being a prequel, because in Five Nights 1, Freddy's a lot more slick. So the kid inside haunting Freddy learned his lesson and started like picking up on ways to hide in the shadows and to sneak up on Mike when he least expects it. Springtrap, who was an adult that died in one of the suits, he slinks around like he's hunting prey. It's been like compared to that. He sneaks around in the vents. He's really quiet. I hate the part where you're looking and you don't have any monitor, or you have your monitor up and you see Springtrap just like run right by you, and it's so hard to miss. And as soon as you put your monitor down, you're dead. He moves like an adult that knows what he's doing and has killed people before. So that it really gives me chills that Scott thought that deep into that kind of movement in the animatronics. Once all 6 nights are completed in Five Nights 3, the horror attraction burns down due to either faulty wiring or foul play. So let's fill in those gaps a little bit. This timeline is relevant when taken from the perspective of the FNAF 3 bad ending. So you never played any of the mini games, any of the hidden mini games. You didn't click on the damn wall tiles. You didn't click on the stupid cupcakes. You just played the game. The good ending theoretically doesn't even have to exist at all, because nobody going into the game is going to know, oh, these tile sets look like numbers. Let me click in some random numbers and oh my god, it's a random game. Nobody's going to think to do that except for Scott Cawthon's neurotic freaking mind. So that doesn't have to exist at all. Somebody can just play that game, pick it up, finish it, get the bad ending, which is the true ending. It's taking into account the bad ending being the true ending. And the Phantom animatronics look dingy and decayed, like Phantom Freddy when they jump scare you but don't kill you. It looks like they've been kept in a dump, so that insinuates that also helps the theory that they were scrapped after the franchise closed down. The puppet occasionally appears in perfect condition. Potentially, he might be the arsonist that burned down Fazbear's Fright because he was pissed off that this phone guy, or phone dude, was mocking the lives that have been taken in the Fazbear industry, or in the Fazbear franchise, so he probably burned it down, where that foul play comes in. Okay, so what I've been waiting so long to do is talk about the 4th game. I'm so excited about this. By far my favorite installment, jump scare wise. Overall, I still love 2 because I love characters. There's a bunch, but this one is very good. So brief plot description for this one. You play as a little boy alone in his home at night as he tries to scare away the animatronics that lurk in his home. During the course of the 5 nights, we are met with a series of Atari-style mini-games, well, cutscenes I've called them, that tell the story of the boy and how he's afraid of the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza restaurants. Not much can be said for certain about the game's plot. Like, nothing is set in stone at all. A lot of people think it is, and we're gonna get to that, because fuck you, Matt Pat. The first game where we don't play as a night guard, we actually play as a child. A little, living, breathing child. And I think that's also where Scott really hit home by making it a kid as the main character, because I've heard a lot of people whining and moaning and complaining, oh, he's a kid, that's really messed up. It's like, you played the first 3 and it insinuated murders of these kids, so why don't you help this kid stay alive? So, but people threw a fit over nothing, so. Okay, so on the surface, this is what the game wanted us to believe. On the day of the boys' party, which is 0 days until the party, we see a cutscene where the boy, his brother, and his brother's friends, the 4 older boys are wearing masks of the animatronics and start heckling the little brother. Gee, he sure cries a lot. He's a little bitch. And suddenly they hoist him up, they throw him into Fredbear's mouth, and due to the faulty wiring of the spring locks, his tears make the jaw close on his head. And it kills him instantly. At face value, this appears to be the answer to the biggest question in the entire series, who the bite of 87 was. The victim, anyway. But we know better than that. Of course, right? We can't take that at face value. It's Scott Cawthon's game. Of course. So if he were the bite victim, so this is my entire, I spent restless nights before having to get up for work and thinking about it at work on my free time. I did a lot of research into physical and mental things that happen to you when you are hurt, things like that. The only evidence to support that the boy being the bite victim is how the animatronics look. If you've heard of lucid dreaming, this is when someone is between the stages of REM sleep, which is a deep sleep, and being awake. They are aware of what they are dreaming, and sometimes can change the course of that dream. Sometimes lucid dreams are good, but most involve scary or compromising situations that make you feel very nervous and anxious. However, anybody can lucid dream. Prefrontal, it's located in the prefrontal cortex when you dream like that, but you don't need that injured for that to happen to you. I have friends that have lucid dreamed, my family things like that, and they're perfectly fine. So that's the only way that this kid could be the bite of 87's victim. But there's not enough there at all. So let's dig a little deeper. There are various clues and Easter eggs that point to the child not being the bite victim. As per this, that screen right there says Fredbear and Friends 1983. It's amazing how the human body can live without the frontal lobe, you know, which is what Phone Guy said on one of the phone calls in the first game. The kid is not without his frontal lobe. Everything stayed intact when Fredbear's jaw closed. Nothing came off, nothing fell. It was just him being crushed. The boy seemed to die in the mouth of Fredbear on impact. Nothing was alive. He's not living anymore. So Phone Guy, excuse me, saying that kind of insinuates that the boy isn't really the victim. In the scenes following, there's an Easter egg of a flatline sound as the Fredbear plush talks to the little boy. As it fades to black, you hear a very, very, very faint flatline sound, so that kind of puts things even more, like solidifies things even more. So here's what I think. This was where all my research came in. The boy isn't a bite victim, but he was born mentally ill. I think he's a paranoid schizophrenic. People who suffer from schizophrenia have an altered sense of reality and have a hard time distinguishing their hallucinations from what's really there, which is why we have the kid running back and forth in his closet, making sure that these things are not actually real, or if he thinks that they're real, to protect himself from them, which is why he closed the doors. Which would make the appearance of the animatronics make sense. So, for example, this, turning into that could be a very, very, very vivid hallucination, and with a little bit of controlling himself and calming down for a moment, he can make that turn into what it really is. So either he is treated for his illness at home, or subconsciously sees the items that he regularly encounters while in hospital, which is why you see an IV bag by his bed. You'll see pills there often. It's really hard to see, but that is the screenshot. If you look really close to the left side of the bed, there's an IV drip. Those who suffer from schizophrenia may also have a tendency to cry or show excess of emotion for no reason, hence his constant tears. The bite from Fredbear killed the boy and is a separate incident from the bite of 87. The bite that happened at the last minute there in the game is just a red herring that Scott wanted to throw at us and make us shit ourselves. All of this disproves the bite of 87, but there is another theory that is answered here, which is the missing children's incident. The little boy is associated with the Fredbear that bit him, or Golden Freddy through the obvious context clues. As well, the boys that are seen in the shot, they each have their own mask depicting one of the animatronics. His brother and the other 3 boys are associated with each animatronic by the mask, blah, blah, blah. And these 5 boys are Purple Guy's victims. So what I think happened is that Purple Guy pulled the little boy from Fredbear's mouth, made sure he was dead by whatever means that he thought was necessary, and threw that boy on top of the stack of the other 4 bodies, making them the 5 missing children. No staff was around in the restaurant when this was happening. When you watch the boys pick up the little one, there's nobody around to see them do this. So the fact that this bite, we're seeing this bite, we're seeing it from a third-person perspective. We shouldn't even be there. So we're from the outside looking in, and we can't tell anybody about it. So that bite, all things considered, never happened. The only ones that know that it happened to, are these 5 and Purple Guy. Purple Guy's not going to tell anybody, of course not. So that was just, again, a red herring. So in the Give Gifts, Give Life minigame, there's a single boy in the very last frame after the Give Life portion of the game, where we can assume that's the little boy that cries. Because he's lain forgotten, and he's like a very small, insignificant thing that shows up just at the very last second before Golden Freddy, who he's associated with, jump scares you and ends the game. Okay, where this goes in the timeline. So if this is true, then the 5 kids at the end are the missing children, and it would fit right into the second location's pizzeria. Right after the employees are killed in the malfunctioning Springlock suits, and before the suits are replaced with the 4 cast of animatronics. So the 2 that died in the suits to make that malfunction happen, the 5 kids die, and then immediately after, these 2 are replaced with the 4 animatronics we know that are fully functioning robots, not wearable suits. This further proves that it's before 1987 because the Springlock suits are out of commission before then, and we see one of them bite the little boy. So take that, Mad Pat. Fuck you. I hate how pretentious that son of a bitch is. This game is not about him, so, which he likes to make you think it is. So if you guys have seen Game Theory, I'm a big fan of Matt. However, he can be a little condescending and very full of himself. And on one of his videos, Scott actually commented on it and said that it was really good, but you're missing a lot of things. Matt deleted this comment and was like, it's a big fuck you to Scott. So Matt believes he is so right that even the creator said that maybe he should dig a little deeper. He was like, nope, and just got him out of the way. But we were able to catch it. And so Matt likes to think that this game is about him, or